She's a 3-month-old puppy, so that's why we're wearing the whole get up.
Her hazmat suit.
Hi, friend. So Jess has a little bit of fear reactivity, and so what we're going to do is we're going to work on crate training. Everyone, you can always start as literally as soon as good girl. As soon as you get them, start crate training. They're never too young to learn crate training.
We highly recommend crate training here at Animal Care with your new adoptable dog, simply for the matter of not only is it great for the dog, but we don't know what your dog's going to be like in the home. We don't know if they're going to chew up the PlayStation or pee on your favorite pair of sandals.
Or lay there and do nothing.
Exactly.
So this is just a safe place. A lot of people kind of have a little bit of anxiety when it comes to crates because they're like, oh, but I don't want my dog to be caged.
I don't want to put her back in jail.
But it's not a cage. So this is a den is what we typically kind of like to use that term. It's a safe place for them to go and relax. I always recommend people actually putting, this is where your dog eats breakfast and dinner. Okay, because this is a good place. This is not where we put dogs to punish them.
Good girl.
So as you can see, we just want it open. We're just hanging out here. Good job. Good puppy. Good job. Good girl. Yeah. Good job. So yeah, so we always have treats, but just leave it open. Kind of let your dog sniff it and smell it and mosey around. Because we never really know. Oh, I dropped it.
That's not the treat, silly.
I see you licking your lips. You ready? Oh yeah, you already know sit. You're so smart. So what we're gonna start off with
Good
is
girl.
just going
Good sit.
into the crate. We're not closing the door. We're not forcing them to stay in there. Ready? Can we get up? Ready? Okay, let's try with the treat.
Yes.
And so you see I pushed and she was like a little resistant. So we tossed the treat and see if we can get her to go in.
Treats are great.
The other way to do that, so some dogs have a really, really high anxiety, especially our older dogs. Has some anxiety, so these double door crates are really good because your dog, ready? Good job. Can you come on over? Yay, good girl. They actually go all the way through, so we practice if your dog is like, I'm not going in the crate, you are not making me. Try a double door crate and see if you can get them just to keep walking through. So we're going to do them a couple of times before, but she doesn't have that level of anxiety, so I'm going to close this.
It's also very helpful when your dog is like Miss Jess here and highly treat motivated. But again, something we always just stressed is to remember not to feed tons and tons of treats that are high calorie. Or if you do, either reduce the calorie amount that your dog has at its mealtime, or you can even always use your kibble as food because we don't want your dog to become obese just because you're really trying to train.
And that's why you can see that I keep breaking these up and I'm giving
She
her
is hardcore focused.
a whole treat because I don't want to give her that many calories. All right, ready? Can you get up? Good girl. And then we allow her to come right back out.
And notice at this point, we're not shutting the door.
You were so smart. You see,
We're not just putting her in there, shutting the door, walking away.
So once you feel like she's, your dog has gotten really good about going in and out, she actually has, so we're going to go.
And Kristen, how long would you say it typically an adopter should expect for the dog to be comfortable going in and out?
Honestly, it depends. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pause and answer that question in a second. So I did close the door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let her out. Good job. Good puppy. And that's it. Real quick with that, the first time we do close the door, we're not closing it, walking away. We're not closing it and keeping them in there for a long period of time. Literally count to 5, open the door, let them back out. Because the biggest key with dogs is that they have to understand that you get to come back out. So the older the dog, so if you get dogs who have been in a shelter for a long time, I know she's ready, have been in a shelter for a really long time, or a little bit older, like closer to 2 or 3, and have never seen a crate before, sometimes we'll see that anxiety, and it does take a little bit longer. Good job, ready? Kiddo?
It's stuck to your glove.
It keeps getting stuck in my glove. Good girl, all the way. Good job. So we're going to close it and we're going to count. So the longer they've been in the kennel and the more anxiety and stuff that they get, the harder shouldn't say harder, the longer it takes. So until you get your dog walking in like that and walking back out and having you're not having to shove them in or pull them in or trick them in, that's the first time that you start to close the door. So typically if they're really treat motivated like this and they don't have a lot of anxiety, actually it only takes about 5 times going in and out and they're typically ready for the next step. Now, if you do have a really anxious dog, that might be longer. It might take you a couple days of just practicing going in, going out, going in, going out.
Patience is the key.
Ready? Can we count? Good girl. So we're gonna close again, and this is our third time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good.
Now, Kristen, at what point would you use a release word or something to let her know she can come out of the kennel?
So that's actually by preference. So typically when we use words for the first probably half of the training, they actually don't even associate the words with anything. So I keep saying kennel. She doesn't know what the word means. That's really for me. After a couple of days of doing this though, that's when I would start practicing with actual words. So I would say kennel, then do the motion, then put the treat in to make her go. But that one, they typically, if they're younger and they're puppies, so if they're under the age of 2, they typically pick up on that in about 3 days. After that, if they're a little bit older, you're looking at probably about 4 or 5 days and they'll start picking up on the word. And the key is always, they get fed in the crate.
Make the crate a wonderful place to be.
Once you do that, once you start feeding them in the crate.
Are you so excited?
Once you start feeding them in the crate, what you're actually going to do is they're going to start beating you through the crate when you pick up that food bowl. Because they know if I go over here, I get it faster. All right, so we're going to actually take the next step with her because she's actually really ready for this. All right, good job. Can you kennel? So I actually am going to close both latches. Maybe.
It might be because, no.
There we go. Okay, and I'm going to walk away, but watch. I'm only going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, and I'm going to stand behind the camera. That's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to let her explore and look. We're not staring dead at her. We're not actually interacting with her at all. So
even I'm not looking at her.
Yeah, so even at this point, so we're not looking at her. We're not talking to her. We're kind of letting her figure it out. It's been a couple seconds. She's kind of like, this is different. We haven't done this yet.
She's also a little confused because she's getting to the back of the kennel and the leash is stuck. And so she's kind of like, why can't I go any further?
Yeah. So this actually is the appropriate size for her because you do want them to be able to get up, turn around, and have a little bit of space. Good girl. So you see how she's standing? She's not pacing back and forth anymore. So that's going to be my cue to, good job, good girl. So let her come out and actually give her a treat outside the kennel this time. Jess, you want to get a treat?
Now, for our adopters who adopt a dog and then they are in a position, which this may not ever happen, but it's hypothetical, where they need the dog to go all night in the crate or go all day, 4 or 5 hours off the bat when they go to work, and they don't, obviously this is the way to do it, but if you don't have time for all of the 4 or 5 days, or do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, so you can actually condense this down into 1 day if you need to. So you do the in and out thing 5 times, take a 5-minute break. Do the in, close the door, count to 5, open the door, come back out thing, take a 10-minute break, then do it again. And so you can condense it down to be 1 day. It's not quite as good, in the sense of be prepared for whining in the crate, be prepared for possible barking in the crate when they get a little frustrated when you leave them for that initial length of time. But yes, if you need to condense it down, you can. But like I said, actually even this process only takes about typically only a couple days, about 3 or 4 days you're looking at it, and actually your dog should be crate trained. With the exception of our super high anxiety, had some type of major issue, then we're gonna have to do a little bit of, actually it's the same process, it just takes a little longer. Good girl.
The cool
you see, she's not actually even coming back to the front of the, all the way up, she's waited a minute. So I'm walking away just waiting, she's looking at us, but we're not looking at her. And we're actually going to stay quiet for a second and see what she does. So she did give us some of that whining, but you notice we're not rushing over to let her out. We're actually not talking to her or even looking at her. This is what I do. You get 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes to complain about the world and how your life so isn't fair because you're just sitting in this kennel. After 5 minutes, we would do a correction. I'm going to stay quiet again because I think she stopped. Actually like this. I know she looks, because she's not breaking out. She's just standing there. So we call this protesting. So that's all she's doing. She's just telling us that, hey, excuse you, you left me in here. Did you know that?
Did you know you walked away and left me? Excuse me.
So we're just going to wait.
And again, for her, that we don't know her backstory. This could be the very first time she's ever been in a crate.
So I'm going to give her a treat and walk away again because she stopped whining. She went and started smelling something else and kind of did her own thing. So we're just going to wait again. And that's what you do. When they stop, go give them a treat. Don't let them out of the crate. initially.
Now, for a puppy, how long would you recommend an adopter leave a puppy crated during the day? So I know it can be longer at night.
Yeah, puppies really need to be out of the crate under 4 months. They really need to be out every 4 hours. Under 4 months, because their bladder, they can't hold it that long. So if you do have a larger crate, it's a good girl. So again, she ignored. So we're gonna give her a treat, and we're gonna wait.
And you can also, as you're working on crates and you're leaving them crated, you can always give them something to occupy them in the crate, such as a Kong, a stuffed Kong, a frozen Kong. I've told my brother he does, for his Australian Shepherd, he gives her he stuffs a Kong with treats and a little bit of her kibble and some cheese, and then he freezes it, and she has it in her crate, and it's like God's the most freaking amazing thing in the world.
Yeah, but back to your initial question, puppies that are under 4 months old, they're going to need to go out every 4 hours, just because their bladders are not big enough. If you do have a bigger kennel set up, you could possibly go a little bit longer, knowing that you're going to come home to an accident. But once they get 4 months old, you can start kind of expanding that to 5 hours, 6 hours. But they're going to kind of stalemate a little bit, right, until their bladders grow with them, so that way they can go that long. But you initially start out, and the really good key too is crates are not always for when you're leaving. Okay, so to crate train your dog, you also want to practice when you're home. Put them in the crate, go take a shower.
Yeah. Put
them in the crate, go make dinner. And make it, you're in there for 5 minutes, and now you're in there for 10 minutes. And kind of work yourself up. And don't forget to go backwards too. Just because you went to work, and you're like, oh, my dog's like so good, when I'm at work for 6 hours. That's great, but when you're home on the weekends, well, okay, throw the dog in the crate for 5 minutes. So that way they don't always associate the crate with you leaving for a really long time. You kind of want the.
And you make it, we have a lot of adopters who eventually, the dog doesn't have to be crated. It can be out loose, whatever. But it's always a good idea to keep those crate skills, for lack of a better word, well tuned and well honed, because your dog, there's going to be a point where you're going on vacation and she has to go to boarding. Or there's going to be a point where she has to go to the vet and she has to stay in the kennel. So just keeping up, that's why Kristen says very important, and it's a great idea to feed in the crate, and just put their food in, especially when you're bringing an adopted dog into a new home. You don't know what that dog is going to be like with your resident dog right then. So feeding in the crate ensures that no one feels like they have to defend their food.
Good. So we're gonna wait and see if she can figure it out. This is always a trick too. Just wait, just give it a second. And since she can't, then we're gonna give her a little bit more direction. Good. And so this time, I'm just doing the motion. She has to go in and then she gets the treat. So this is just a little explanation, just kind of making it go a little bit.
It's a game. It's a fun little crate training game.
Yeah, to her, this is not prison. She's not learning how to go into a cell. She's learning how to work for food.
She actually is enjoying this.
Yeah,
look at her tail.
Everything. Ready? Just. Ready? Can we come up? Come on.
She's like, I want that treat, but.
Good girl. Good job. Yay! Good puppy.
Yeah, even if your ultimate goal is to have your dog loose in the house 24/7, that's fine. We still, as adoptions counselors here, we still would recommend a crate in the beginning for house training, for feeding, for the dog, like I said, to just understand, hi, baby, what's up? To understand that there are going to be times where I cannot be with my person 24/7.
Or, heaven forbid your dog gets sick or get injured. They might have to stay in the crate a little bit more and stuff like that. It's better if they're already trained and they understand the concept of the crate rather than trying to train them while they're ill.